First of all, thank you so much, Alison, for being part of this podcast, for the strategist revival, for the strategists around Latam, but of course, from the board, they are very welcome as well. That we are focused on my revival after my coming back to this role in the advertising market here in Brazil, as a planner, as a strategist, but also that I hope that it is valued by other planners as well around the globe, especially the Latin planners as well. And it's a privilege to talk to you, CEO of Effie Foundations, that has been also COO of Effie Awards. So first of all, please talk about your career.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Rafa, for having me. Really exciting to be here and having this conversation because as we've talked about, the industry in Latin America is near and dear to my heart, and I so respect the creativity of the work being done right now. So I am an agency person earlier in my career and have spent my formative years in a lot of different places. Many have merged out of existence at this point, but the last role I had in the advertising world was running an agency office in the Omnicom network. And I really felt like the next chapter for me was in nonprofit. So I became CMO of an affordable housing organization in that operates across the United States. And that after that work, that led me to Effie, being COO of the Effie Awards and responsible for our partnerships globally. And so that probably dovetails into your next question about how the foundation came to be and
Yes.
connection.
So Candice Lion, first that you are connected with Candice Lions now, it would be great to understand that. How are this connection happening? And I saw at least that Effie Foundations was born after that or connected to that. Is that the true?
That is true. So the Effie Lions Foundation is an independent, what in the United States they call a 501(c)(3), but a nonprofit organization based in New York. And we were formed when Effie Worldwide joined up with Cannes Lions, which is now part of a company called Informa. But Phil Thomas, as CEO of Essential at the time, and Tracy Alford, who was the global CEO of Effie at the time and my boss then, I think both of them shared a vision for the work to advance the industry and create more inclusion in the industry would continue. So when the commercial assets of Effie moved to become part of the Cannes Lions family, that the foundation was created. And that foundation exists to educate the next generation of talent with a focus on underrepresented communities. So we are independent, but heavily supported by the Effie and the Cannes Lions organizations, since it's all part of one family now. Tracy and Phil are both on our board today. Jay Goodman, who's a tremendous creative leader from as the founder of Super Connector Studios, is our board chair, and he was the Effie board chair as well. I think Effie is very well served in its capacity as part of the Cannes Lions portfolio, the Lions portfolio within Informa, because the combination of creativity and effectiveness, and now Effie as part of a organization that has resources to allow it to innovate at the speed of the industry is terrific. And the foundation is benefiting from support from those organizations. So we have, for an organization that is a few months old, we have an inaugural portfolio of programs, which, if we were starting from scratch, we wouldn't have today. So we operate the Effie Collegiate program. It's called Effie College in Latin America. And it operates today in 7 countries globally. And it is also opening up in Bolivia this year and in South Africa. And that program brings university professors of marketing, students of marketing, and brands together in a way that is a win for everybody. Students get to solve a case challenge supplied by a brand. University professors get the chance to turn their textbook classroom learning into a real life experience where their students are solving a challenge, and the way they do it is just like the Effie Awards, and it's judged the same way by industry professionals, so their students are getting feedback from practicing judges. And the brands get the opportunity, besides providing this educational experience, which is a great thing, they get real live Gen Z input into the case challenge they provide. So they can take their toughest marketing challenges to reach younger consumers and ask them to basically co-create a solution that, is not just an academic exercise, but can shape the brand. And potentially for these students, it's a pathway, the experience they get gives them a leg up in the talent, competition in terms of just getting that first industry job. But the brands also get basically a pipeline of talent should they choose to bring people in to those companies. So it's a win for everybody. And because of a brand support, it's available to the universities and the students at no cost.
At no cost. That was my question. Is that no cost for students?
No cost for students. And actually, the winning student teams receive a cash prize.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic and very positive on a lot of different things, of course, on the career and understanding from those students to go on their following, sorry, the growth in their careers from stage to stage, and also about marketing effectiveness, right? So they can understand the biggest number of people entering on our industry of advertising and marketing. They can understand better how to be more effective. Because I've seen a research, I forgot the number, maybe 75% of marketeers saying that the effectiveness of their campaigns on that year was not effective, didn't have the right results. So could you tell a little bit, please, about that, about the value of effectiveness, how valued it is for the agencies and, of course, the profit, but mainly about the agency's business in a role, because those students are learning to enter the advertising agency, for as an example, but also how are the advertising agencies surviving at the moment doesn't seem very effective, bringing a lot of effectiveness to the all the jobs. I would say some jobs, of course, and they are winning prizes with you and Cannes Lions and. But how relevant is that for the entrepreneurs of those agencies? The
Oh my gosh. Well, it's extraordinarily relevant, and it's never it's never been more important to everybody, particularly now in the economic uncertainty. The burden is on all marketers and agencies to get the most return on every investment, and not expenditure, but investment in marketing. And I think that's the key to effectiveness, right? Because it teaches you how to think about marketing as an investment. And from the brand side, connecting with the metrics of effectiveness so that you can talk to your CFO about investing in marketing the same way you would talk to a CFO about investing in a new plant or a technology infrastructure, right? Marketing should have that same seat at the table. I will say that the Effie framework is really helpful as almost a discipline for thinking about solving a problem. So the 4 pillars of Effie are context, challenge, and objectives, where you are really thinking about not just the advertising objective, but the marketing objective and the business objective, and those need to be clearly articulated. We look for that insight, not a recitation of data, but how are you looking at the problems you've just outlined in a very new way that will change, that will force a change in how a consumer thinks, behaves, acts, that changes the market. Then it's about bringing the idea to life and then the results. And in the Effie framework, the results are weighted more heavily from an outcomes and scoring perspective than the other three pillars. So right away, you set up a construct where you are pulling that objective through to the end, and how you measure and report back your results are much more important. Now, in the Effie collegiate competition, we ask students how would they measure because they're developing campaigns that don't run. But in real life Effie, you have to not just demonstrate results, but talk about where they're sourced from, and they are looked at very and scrutinized very carefully by judges of your peers in the industry. So that's really, that framework helps marketers make that case internally, whether you're a brand manager or a CMO, understanding the return on your marketing investment. And I think on the agency side, being able to be your client's partner in that conversation is crucial. It's not enough to show up with ideas anymore. You have to really show that you can be a partner in driving the business. And, step one is the type of training we offer university students to bring them that kind of thinking and those tools before they even step into their first jobs.
I see that very connected to the strategies on that, on being the partner of the clients on that, right? On the Effies, the topics that would be the things that you are presenting to the client beyond, of course, before the creative things. And I was thinking about AI for strategies. How would that be for Effie measurement, for example? Can I use AI or will it steal my job? How is AI today in terms of relevance to achieve the effectiveness of campaigns? And how would it be for these students, for example, of Effie Foundations to learn on how to use AI for that? What do you think about AI in our jobs and effectiveness of the work?
Well, it's so interesting because there are a couple of ways to think about AI. I was speaking with the global CSO of one agency who actually they were thinking about developing a tool to help draft better Effie submissions, better award submissions. But what they realized was, and it wasn't writing them, it was coaching on the writing. And they stopped it because they felt that people weren't learning how to make the case themselves. And part of the challenge is to develop the critical thinking skills and the writing skills, but also that, the output wasn't as strong. So, I think that's a good example of the limitations of AI. There's a time-saving advantage. There's certainly, I've seen tremendous demonstrations of different technology products that pull together insights to help you shape a strategy much more quickly. And that research that used to take days and days can be done much more efficiently. But at the end of the day, you still need somebody to really think about what it means and apply the idea and run with it. And that's the piece that will, with the human filter and experience, that will not be replaced by AI.
Yeah, it won't. But as you mentioned, the prompts, the way that we ask the questions for AI would make a big difference, right? In terms of
Oh,
what we do.
absolutely.
And we are talking a little bit before, you've mentioned your point of view on Latin America creativity, on campaigns, of course. And could you share that with us, please? With them, please, because you have shared.
Absolutely. No. And, we were talking about it. It's a place that, is a very important and growing market for the Effie Awards themselves. So as when I was looking at when I was responsible for the Effie Awards globally, I spent a lot of time in Latin America at a judging, Latin American judging in Cartagena. I went and lived in Buenos Aires for a month to better understand the community there. Um, I went to Santiago, Chile for a judging event and spent some time with the Effie Chile community. And we also had a meeting, an Effie partner gathering for the region in Sao Paulo a year ago, November. So, and from that experience, you sort of take a look back at not just the tremendous creativity, but I think the entrepreneurial nature of the Latin American markets. I mean, every single one is different, and it seems a little unfair to brush the whole region with, in one stroke. But I do think there is a shared characteristic of reinvention and resourcefulness and creativity that is common, even if it might manifest itself differently across the regions.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. And from here, of course, I value a lot the other countries because I have worked for that when I was at Met as well, on terms of creative agencies. But here in Brazil, I believe that Almap BBDO has won the Agency of the Year award from Cannes. So, and now I know that you have connected with Cannes Lions, right? The Effie Foundations is company organization, I would say, organization from both. And how is the connection with Cannes now, with Effie and Cannes? Why have you merged? And I cannot say a lot of possibilities, but why have you merged in terms of that, of bringing more effectiveness and more creativity to the planet, hopefully?
Yes, no, and I think at at some level the Effie and Lions teams are probably best equipped to speak to that. But as their benefactor, or beneficiary, what I will say is that bringing creativity and effectiveness into one organization allows you to understand the relationship between the two much more readily. And I think that is going to serve the industry really well.
That's fantastic. And I, as a strategist for near 20 years, I was always thinking about before Meta, working for Meta. I was always thinking about that, but I would love to, for example, as an example, to do the courses that you give on Effie Foundations. You have mentioned it is for people that are beginning on their careers. Do you have courses as well for some people with experience on that, as a strategist?
There is a huge curricula of courses. The foundation's focus is university students. And in addition to the FE College program, we have access to several of the online learning courses that the Lions organization makes available to professionals, as well as the FE organization. So we have online courses in the FE framework, which I just described, Contagious Creative Accelerator, and then resources like the work and Contagious IQ, so that students can learn from the best and most effective marketing and the most creative marketing in the world, which is pretty cool. And then, as professionals, agencies and brands and individuals can access those kinds of courses. And I don't want to say there's no limit, but there is so much offered. It's really, it's a really rich set of both courses and experiences. So for example, Effie offers a program called Boot Camp, which is for marketers with about 5 years experience. And it's a really intensive dive over a couple of days into the Effie framework. And because of the partnership with Effie and Lions, with those organizations coming together, there will be an Effie boot camp this year for the first time at Cannes.
That's fantastic. I I would probably apply for those. But a part of that, I have mentioned to you about my traumatic brain injury that I'm very happy to be alive and thinking about each day is a pleasure to be alive. So I keep thinking about the positive impact that I can do, of course, bringing profit for the companies that hire me and for the clients that I attend, but also a positive impact for people and planet as well. And I believe that brands can, of course, do that. And there are brands and examples of campaigns and actions from brands like Effie. Now, the foundations is a huge example on that, on being very positive on the social side of ESG as an example, because it has the impact of free courses for people in universities and those others that you have mentioned. And I'm very happy with the awards that social positive change, I believe, from Effie and the awards from Cannes Lion as well are looking for that, for the positive impact that brands can bring through campaigns, through advertising, and through communications of the brands. Could you tell, please, a little bit about the awards that look for that on Effie and the criteria, as you have mentioned, the measurement on the winners and the things that we would recommend for the people that are building their campaigns now to not only win the Effies, but to have a positive impact on people, planet, and profit.
Well, the beauty about any Effie in any category is there is no standard criteria for effectiveness. So it is really determined by whoever is entering the campaign and what they were thinking about achieving when that campaign, product, piece of software, it could really be anything, was developed. And so the positive change Effie, while its purpose and the category itself is defined by the impact it's making on the world in a broader way, the judging of it is handled the way it would be with any other Effie by the same strict criteria. So when the judges look at those entries, it is through the eye of what did you set out to do? What was your insight? How was it executed? And did you achieve your results? And I think that, in just about every competition, there are always some positive change entries, connected to social good in some way that bubble up to the top, which is really, I mean, one of the things that just gave me goosebumps was we were judging a case, it was actually in Santiago last October, and it was entered in positive change. And somebody, after the video was played in the judging room, said, "This is why we are in this business." Exactly. And I know that the Lions organization with the SDG Lions and the Glass Lions sees their role in a very similar way.
And I think that the awards from Effie, the awards from Cannes can help the agencies and the clients to think about that on each brief and the problem they are trying to solve for the brand, the objectives, to think about that as well. And at least for the agencies, the creative agents, to think better about that and the possibilities on doing that. Because of course they're very proud of winning those awards, but mainly on the results, I hope so, the results that that campaign will bring in terms of the objectives of the campaign, the objectives of marketing and that. So I would love to see if it has high going higher the amount of applications for those awards, because the agencies would be doing more on that and thinking more about that. I'd love to grow this behavior on agencies as well, and I believe it has done. Does it make sense? Is it growing? The
Um,
application of those?
you know, there are 58 plus FE programs around the world in countries, in regions, globally. So it's hard to speak for all of them, but
Sorry.
you know, certainly on the positive, on an upward trend. And it would be, you know, it would be nice to see it get so big that it almost becomes every entry.
If was still at Meta, I would ask help for you to make that quest, that research, just to understand, because I was doing a lot of presentations on that, but it would be great to understand how much this has impacted the creative agencies around the globe in terms of getting interested on that. But it's never mind. It's just
Yeah.
an idea,
And
maybe in the future.
and that's something you can probably talk to the Effie and Lions teams about because now we've pivoted our focus to students.
Yeah, of course.
So we're really, for us, you know, it's really about ensuring that the talent gets to the table, that reflects the world as it is and not as it was.
Perfect. And that helps a lot the students and, of course, the communities around it because some of the universities are talking about that as well on their on their aspects of each in each semester having different subjects, but they're talking about that as well, and that would be great. Advertising courses and communications, of course, and
Well,
what
I think it's, because we can't we've talked about AI and we've talked about different categories, but until the industry represents the markets it's speaking to, it hasn't lived up to its full potential. If marketing's job is to make cultural connections, that culture, the people who represent the culture should be at the table. And so we want to see more talent from underrepresented communities. And we want to be able to give people the skill building and access and insights that will help them be strong contributors at that table.
and that's fantastic. And another question about data, just because I was working with that near moments ago. But how many students do you have around Brazil, for example? Do you know, or around the globe?
There are a few thousand that go through the program every year,
That's fantastic.
distributed across the countries I mentioned.
I've done when near 20 years ago, I've done the Miami School Boot Camp on planning. That it was fantastic for me. Then I jumped in this career on traditional creative agencies, and it was fantastic. And education, I believe so, that I have done much courses as well. It helps a lot on those terms that you have mentioned, and especially on people that are beginning their careers to already understand the difference as an example of efficiency and effectiveness and how the effectiveness can help you to achieve your results from what you were thinking on, first of all, the objective that you have in terms of that potential campaign and brand communication. So it would be sorry to bring this again, but I keep thinking about the sustainability, sustainable marketing. So it would be great to see that on your courses as well. Do you have something around that on the effectiveness? No, you're under the criteria, right? Depending on the objective of the campaign, it depends on terms of what you are doing. If this is sustainable marketing is on the objective of the campaign or something like that.
Um, well, from the foundation point of view, I will say we have a core set of curriculum today. We have the Effie collegiate or college program, and we have some online courses that we can offer students. One of the things we will be doing, and that I feel strongly as, a leader, my obligation is to lead with curiosity and really understand where can we play beyond the tremendous assets we've been given. We want to do more. Um, where's the place that the Effie Lions Foundation can make a difference? And it could be sustainability, it could be mentoring, it could be a lot of different things. And the second half of this year, our team is really going to spend some time, doing a lot of listening and learning to understand what the focus of our next generation of programming is and what should be part of it.
I would love to be part of that. But I believe that a lot of people that are watching us now would love to be part of the Effie Foundations and to learn on the college and the projects that you have and the courses that you have. What should they do to be part of that? First of all, I believe it's applying on the website, right?
So there are a couple of things. And, I will say that in the several months that we've been, and we're, an official organization, I have been really touched by the number of people who have just proactively reached out who want to help. And I think that's the other thing. There are so many talented people in this industry who just want to give back. And they have already been and will continue to be an important source of insight and support for the work that we do today and the work that we will do in the future. I will say that we are always looking, besides the input that we will get from everybody across the industry in the coming months, we are always looking for brand partners who want to engage students and work together with them to bring that curriculum and that their particular case challenges to a group of marketing professors and young marketing talent. And then I think that within organizations today, there's also a question for brands about how they are lifting up and putting the representative talent at the table. Because we do know that there are many, the definition of representative varies around the world, right? Depending on where you are.
Yeah.
In the US, for example, we see decreasing progress against some of those metrics. But I think it's also about retaining people in the industry. So I think the best example is the WFA did a survey in 2023 that said 1 in 7 people in our industry, and they're global, right? So that's why it's really important. 1 in 7 people have said they would leave the industry because they don't feel it's inclusive. And if you look at people from underrepresented communities, it's 1 in 4. 25% of the industry not feeling welcome and not intending to stay. And, marketing's getting too hard. We need the best voices at the table. And if we're losing people, it's going to be really hard to have the impact in any business.
That's fantastic. I was not aware of those the data that you have mentioned. And we have to have an impact, first of all, for the company, of course, for the employees of each of the companies that advertising agencies, etc., but not get kept away from not only the results from my point of view, the people on the planet, if possible. But I was not aware that 1 in 4 would like to leave the industry, and that's very strong. And for the students, how do they apply for the college? Is it through the website?
So the students are apply through their professors, but if they're interested in having an Effie College program at their school, there is a website mechanism for them to let us know so we can and connect us with the professors so we can bring them a program and cases. If it's not a country we're operating in, we'll figure out a way to do that. And if it is a country we're already operating in, it's great. It's just a matter of connecting their school and their students.
It was amazing to talk to you, Alison. Thank you so much for having the time and your speech. And I've learned a lot with you. And thank you so much. And of course, I will publish also the links for those students to apply. And
Brilliant.
I will apply as well. Because I love to learn, relearn the things, but now learn through Effie Foundations. That will be amazing to think about the effectiveness that we can bring on each brief, not occasionally, but on each brief. That will help a lot. Thank you so much. Very kind of you to be, in a way, present over here in this video call.
No, this is terrific. And on behalf of the Effie Lions Foundation, Rafa, thank you for inviting me and by extension our team to the conversation.
Thanks a lot. Big hug
Take
for you.
care.
You too.